In this series of video on completing the square, let's first try and understand what's the purpose of completing the square. Quadratic equations like this are not easy to solve following the usual methods that you've learned for linear equations. And this comes from the fact that if a, b, and c are non-zero, are actual numbers different from zero, then it's very difficult to make x the subject of the formula. One option has been explored in the videos on factorizing quadratics, and the point was to rewrite these numbers, this quadratic, as a product of three factors like this. And the key is to say that if this product is zero, then this means that x plus m is zero, or x plus n is zero, meaning one of these two here has to be zero. This one is obviously not a zero. And this would actually help us solve the quadratic because we end up with x being minus m or x being minus n. So that was one good option. Another interesting option that has many other applications also is to turn this into something of the kind a brackets x plus d squared plus e is equal to 0. The point of rewriting this quadratic like this is that then we only have one x, and from here we can work our way to the value. If we first subtract e on both sides, we'll get something like this. Then we divide by a on both sides to get this equal to minus e over a. We can take the square root, so x plus d is equal to the square root of minus e over a, under the condition that this thing here is positive, so we're taking the square root of something positive. This means that either e or a has to be negative to cancel out this minus. And let's also not forget that we can have a positive or a negative number. And for example, if you have this number squared is equal to 4, this number can be plus 2 or minus 2. So plus or minus the square root of 4. In one last step, we get x is equal to minus d plus or minus the square root of minus e over a in our example. So we end up with two solutions, just like we had two solutions right there. Okay, so completing the square is just rewriting this here quadratic into that form to then, just by following the same series of steps all the time, get to the two solutions of our equation. So you might be now wondering, why do we have two methods to solve these quadratics? Well, the answer to that is that factorizing doesn't work all the time. It's going to work on student-friendly questions, but in the general case, we have to use the completed square form to solve a quadratic. Come back to the last video of this series if you want to see an example on which factorization is not going to work. Anyway, if you want to learn a little bit more about completing the square, you can watch the following videos.